All right. I think we're live. We got Max hanging out with us tonight. He's just off camera. I don't know how long he'll hang out, but anyway. Um, Before I get into it, let's get the disclaimers out of the way. This is the weekly live broadcast. This is pretty much every Thursday evening, 7 o'clock Central. Not every, I mean, sometimes I have to miss, but for the most part, every Thursday evening, 7 o'clock Central, this is where I am. I do my best to respond to all of the chat that comes in during the live broadcast. If you've got questions that I haven't been good at answering because I've not been good at responding to comments lately, this is a good place to get your questions answered. Or if you just want to interact, you want to talk about pretty much whatever you want to talk about. I don't have topics planned out. I let the chat kind of dictate how the broadcast goes. The only things I ask is be polite, be family friendly, don't be hateful, rude, don't start cussing anybody, any of those kinds of things. We'll have to kick you out. But other than that, it's pretty much all fair game. So let's jump into it. We got TM here. Says, So and Tara made a video on inexpensive leg bands for quail. Can you think of how many things you would want to use leg bands on? Quail and chickens, just curious. Actually, no, I don't really use leg bands on my quail. I'm not really sure what the point of using leg bands is. I'm not saying you shouldn't. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but I guess if you want to identify like which ones are your older birds versus your younger birds, or something like that, or maybe if you had a breed of quail that was like not feather sexable, like you had to vent sex them, then you could put leg bands on them to identify your males from your females or something. I guess that's not a terrible idea. But no, I don't know really, honestly, what else I would use leg bands on. I guess if I had pigeons, I would. Sorry, the dog distracted me. He saw a bug, he went after it. Um, I would use leg bands probably on pigeons because I think you have to, honestly, if you're going to have homing pigeons, you're supposed to have them banded and registered and all that. But I don't know, honestly, anything else to use leg bands on. Warchild's here says, hey, all, shout out from New Zealand. Feathered Connections Homestead says, hey, Quail family. I can't wait to see y'all at Quail Con. Happy Thursday, Chris. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And I can't wait to see you guys there either. Vase Place says, hey, Chris, I had to unsubscribe and resubscribe because I didn't get a notification. Uh-oh. I don't know what happened there. I don't know why you don't get notifications. That's weird. I don't know. I got a notification at my channel. I think that's probably what that was. Yep, now live on my channel. I already know that. It's my channel. But that's what the notification was. I don't know. That's odd. I'm not sure why you wouldn't get them, but thank you for unsubscribing and subscribing again, I suppose. And then Verna's posting the Quail and Homesteading Convention 2024 link right there. If you're not familiar with it, it's right there. TM says they need a day till Quail Con calendar. Yeah, we should, shouldn't we? We should put one of those up. Verna says only 128 days. So Much Joyce here says hello to everyone. Hello to you too. And then Scrap 5000 says, woohoo, I've missed many weeks. So glad to be able to attend tonight. Hey, we're glad to have you here too. Thank you for joining us. Chris says, greetings, everyone. I hope you are doing well. I don't really have many questions. Just here to hang out. Well, that's fine with me. We can talk about, like I said, whatever you want to talk about, whether it's questions about quail, questions about life in general, or whatever. We'll talk about whatever you want to talk about. There's David Lister from McAllister Quail Trail. Says, hey, just had a hatch of 44 out of 57 of our own chicken eggs. My wife is on cloud 9. Well, that's pretty good. That's a great hatch. Well done. Jacob Wolf says, my baby rabbits are 3 weeks old now. About half of them are starting to eat the rolled oats I give and are starting to munch on the pellets with mama. Yeah, I bet all of them are actually starting to do that. You just haven't noticed it, honestly. Yeah, usually right around 10 days old, somewhere around in there, when they start getting out of the nest box, they're going to start nibbling on, the food to supplement, nursing as well. So it's pretty common, but it sounds like they're doing well. I'm glad to hear it. Alaska Nomad, good to see you, says hello to everyone. So Much Joy says, my bunnies are a month old now. Anything I should do for them? How about feeding grain? Still new to this. So I'm not sure what you mean exactly by feeding grain. If you basically you just feed them whatever the mother's eating, because they're eating part of that feed. There's nothing special you need to do for them at a month old. Just keep the feeders full. They're going to eat quite a bit. They're going to start eating a whole lot. If they're a month old, they only got another couple of weeks before they're going to be getting weaned. So there's not really anything new to do or anything special to do for them. Otherwise, other than just keeping the feeders full. Don't start feeding them new stuff. Don't give them anything that you're not already giving the mother rabbit. But anything you're giving the mother rabbit, the babies can have as well. So Jacob said something. I don't know what it was. Billy Glass says, hey, Chris, man, your advice about changing feed got eggs. Well, good. I'm glad to hear that. I don't remember the specifics of what we were talking about, but I do remember a conversation about not getting eggs. So, hey, I'm glad it worked. Good to hear that. David Lister says 2 of the chicks had cross beak. Have you ever seen this? I've seen quail. No, I don't think I ever had a quail even do that. But you do run into issues like that sometimes with, usually it's splayed legs or wry neck or something like that. And I don't know that I've ever seen a crossed beak, honestly. I'm not sure that there's an easy way to fix that. You may just end up having to call those out. G. Michael says, hey, Chris, hope you and your family are doing well. Hello, all from SLC, Salt Lake City, I bet, Utah. Yeah, I'm doing well. Hopefully you are too. Thanks for joining us. So Much Joy says, yeah, mine love alfalfa hay. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with alfalfa hay. TL Scott says, my son is preparing to start the quail after watching your videos, Chris. Well, I hope that's a good thing. I hope I didn't cause a problem there, but hopefully he does well with them. TM says you need to take some chicken footage and show a little bit of it on your live chat. Yeah, I'm not sure how I would show that footage during my live chat. I know there's probably a way to do that. I'm not sure how to do that. But yeah, I probably should take some more footage. They're still in the brooder box right now. They're ready to go outside, but we had it rained today, storm today. We didn't really get too much right here, but just to the north of us. I mean, I'm talking just 5-6 miles to the north of us. I got 5 inches of rain today. So we had the flood warnings and all that kind of stuff out. And we've got more coming tomorrow, Saturday and Sunday. Severe threats, possible tornadoes, that kind of stuff. I'm not terribly worried about it necessarily, but I don't want to put the chickens out in the tractor when severe weather coming through. So I'm leaving it in the brooder. It's getting pretty crowded in there right now. They are definitely ready to go outside. And I'm probably going to have to, excuse me, I'm probably going to have to go out and feed a little bit early. I usually feed about 6 a.m. And then I jump in the shower, get ready for work, and go to work. But I'm probably going to have to feed a little bit early tomorrow morning because the storms are supposed to be here at 6 to 10 tomorrow morning. I don't want to be out there in the storm. I don't mind a little bit of rain. I mean, I got weatherproof hat, weatherproof, all that. So I'm good. But I don't want to be out there with thunder and lightning and trying to get everything fed and watered. So hopefully it holds off long enough for me to get that done. Stacy says, and wait, So Much Joy says, okay, thanks, Chris. Well, you're absolutely welcome. And Stacy says, can kits eat apple peels? Yeah, I don't see why they wouldn't be. Oh, and you spelled it wrong. I didn't even notice it was spelled wrong. I don't see why. I don't know that would be a big issue, but you don't want to be, again, you don't want to be introducing them to a new food if they've never had it before. You don't really want to be adding a whole lot. If you're going to just a little bit of it, it's not probably the best thing in the world for them. So what you're going to worry about there is they're going to end up with, anytime you switch a rabbit, whether it's a kit or a full grown rabbit or whatever, you make drastic changes in their diet. They're susceptible to getting diarrhea. Rabbits with diarrhea don't last very long. They tend to not do very well. Hey, we got a $10 super chat. Let me get this one done. We'll jump right to that. Anyway, where was I? Apple peel. So I don't know if they haven't, if you're not feeding those to the mother rabbit and they haven't been around them, probably a good idea to just very little bit if you're going to give any to them at all. Let's see. And then we got, $10 super chat from Rabbit Homestead says, hey, I learned so much from Slightly Redneck. Can't stay, but I wish I could hang and chat for a bit longer. Well, thank you. I appreciate the super chat. Very kind of you. Alaska Nomad says, I have 64 rare mixed colors in the incubator and 3 brood boxes going. Yes, I'm building another quail coop today. Sounds like you're getting in over your head, but hopefully that's going well. Zaria says, "Hey Chris, do you have Instagram?" I do have Instagram, but I'm never on Instagram ever. And you guys probably know already. I'm not really much for social media. I'm not good at social media at all. I scroll occasionally, but I don't hardly ever post anything. I hardly ever interact with anybody. So don't be offended if you're in my Facebook group and you never see me talking to anybody. There's lots of people in there that are very helpful. They'll answer your questions and things like that. I'm just terrible at social media. I just can't motivate myself to do it. I've tried, and I just cannot get in there and get it done. But yeah, I have an Instagram account. It's a personal one, but I haven't been on Instagram, and I haven't even checked it in months. Billy Glass says, my incubator kept it 100. Wait, my incubator, I keep it 100.4, set at 65% humidity, but humidity goes crazy high at 80%. How to stop it? Usually open for a second and it comes back down. First of all, don't stress too much about humidity. It's really not as important as temperature. It's a little bit more important when you get into the lockdown phase. 80% is a good range for it to be there, but I just don't worry about it too much until then. That would be my advice. I'm not sure why you say you have it set at 100.4 or set at 65% humidity. So do you have a humidity control on there? My guess is what's happening is you've got it set at 64, and probably what happens is when it starts to drop below that humidity control adds some water to that, which makes the humidity spike up, but it'll level back out. It's nothing to worry about. It's probably, you're not really getting with a hydrometer a real accurate reading of humidity anyway. I mean, it's fairly close, but it's kind of like an educated guess kind of thing. The only way to get real true humidity is to do relative humidity with like a wet dry bulb, which you'd have to look up how to do that. It's too complicated for me to try to explain to you. It's not terribly hard, but it basically involves putting like a thermometer in the water and a thermometer in the air, and then you do some math between the two to figure it out. So don't stress too much about the humidity. It's 80% is not too high. It's going to be fine. Tater Farm. Oh, and by the way, when you go into lockdown, you really want it to be about 75 to 85%. Somewhere between those two ranges is a good range to be. But even if you're at 65% and it's bumping up to 80 and bouncing around a little bit, it's going to be okay. Okay, Tater Farm says, hatched out my first 6 quail a week ago. Just had to tell you, Chris, longtime viewer, starting the journey. Well, awesome. Congratulations on that. I'm glad to hear that you had a successful hatch. Andy says, hello, Chris, from Middleville, Michigan. Good to see you. Thanks for joining. So Much Joy says, I once had a chicken who had her top beak crossed over the bottom one. Sunflower could only eat small pieces of feed, but did fine. She laid eggs for a few years and only laid double yolks. Interesting. I didn't know. I don't know why that would be. I don't know why there would be a correlation between that and double yolk eggs, but it's good to hear that she did okay. I would be concerned that cross beak would make it, very difficult, if not impossible, for them to eat, but who knows? G. Michael says, question, how much cage space do your does get? I'm wondering what the optimum size a doe's cage should be for it to be, or be for when she has her kits. All of my, excuse me, all of my does, all my rabbits actually get a 36 by 30 cage. And I think is it 12 inches high, 14 inches high? I can't remember how tall they are now. It's probably higher than 12 inches. It is higher than 12 inches, I think. But hang on just a second. I can probably figure that out. Yeah, it's probably 24 inches, I believe, high. So 36 by 30, 24 inches high. That's how high I have all my rabbit cages. You could get away with a little bit smaller for your bucks, but definitely does with kits, they do need that extra space. But that's fine. I've had rabbits with litters up to 10 in that cage space, and they're fine. Now, what I do typically do is I move my rabbits off by, 8 weeks roughly, if I haven't moved them off already. You don't want to move them off their mother before 6 weeks. And some people will say they wean their rabbits at 5 weeks, and I'm not going to say you're wrong necessarily, but 6 weeks is kind of the general rule of thumb, is whenever you wean your rabbits and you can move them off the mother. But I typically just wait until they're like 8 weeks old, somewhere right around in there, and then I move them off into grow out pens. Alaska Nomad said, Billy Glass, I hatched a ton of quail with 80% humidity, but don't go over that. Yeah, I mean, really 85 is not even too terribly high. But yeah, if you start getting above 85% humidity, then you stand a chance of them drowning basically because there's too much water in the air. So David Lister saying to So Much Joy, with the cross beaks having 42 other siblings, I decided to avoid them suffering. They're gone. Yeah, I don't know that that's a bad idea. That's probably what I would have done too. Hey, there's Blessed with Pets. Says, wish I could hang around Dad's birthday party, so I got to head out. Happy to say I have a successful rabbit litter, healthy 13-day-old babies. God bless. Well, that is good to hear. Tell your dad we said happy birthday. And I know you've been waiting a long time to get baby rabbits, so congratulations there. Ed Got Bates here says, good evening, Chris. Glad to see you doing good, Chris. Well, thanks. Appreciate you being here. G. Michael says, question, how much cage space do you give your grow outs when you wean them? Well, I have 36 by 30 cages for them as well. And I'm only growing them out until they're like 5 pounds, and then I'm processing them. So I put, I'll mix. I mean, it doesn't matter really, honestly. They don't need a ton of space. If it is starting to get crowded, it's only really getting crowded for like the last week or two. But I generally will just split my males and females. So I may end up with like 5 or 6 rabbits in one of those cages for a grow out. And it's not really that big of a deal. I just like to split the males and females up by at least by 10 weeks because at that point, then they start, wanting to breed. They can't really breed, but still, it's just harassing the does. And I just feel like it's good to get them separated out. Billy Glass says, okay, first time incubating wife says I'm driving myself crazy. Yeah. When you first start doing anything, honestly, you're going to be probably ultra focused on it, but just relax. Don't stress about it. It's going to be fine. Andy Rabbit says, hatch day, always a fun day for me. Yep, I know how that goes. White State says, just subscribe. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Fat Country says, hello, everyone from Riverview, Florida. Good to see you. Thank you for joining us tonight. Verna says, let's see, Mooney starts weaning her kids at 4 weeks. I don't do anything to them but watch her. Yeah, they will start weaning their kits a little bit earlier than 6 weeks, but 6 weeks is kind of really they're for sure weaned by that point or can be weaned by that point. Sometimes they're probably weaned a little bit earlier. I just like to err on the side of safety with that and just don't mess with them before that. White State says, glad to see you live. We just got a few quail, got plenty of rabbits and some chickens, ducks, looking to connect with others because I don't know what I'm doing. Well, it sounds like you do. I mean, you got a whole bunch of stuff going on there. But yeah, you're connecting with the right group because if I don't know the answer, somebody here probably does, and they'll help you out. Andy Rabbit says, I'm up to 50% hatch rate on shipped eggs. Hopes on 3 more to hatch. So, well, 50% is not terrible, but yeah, I'm betting that you can get a little bit more out of that one. Good luck with it. Let's see. There's Tony from Toronto. Good to see you. Joe Macau says, when I crack my quail eggs, most have a white spot on the yolk. What is this? That just means it's a mature egg. The white spot really doesn't mean anything. What you're looking for to see if it's fertile or not is a bullseye ring, kind of a dark ring around that white spot. It's going to be faint. It's not going to be real easy to see, but you will notice it. If you look at it, sometimes you have to get it in the right light. But that little dark ring around the white spot in the middle, that tells you it's a fertile egg. All mature eggs, like, from a mature bird, they're all going to have that white spot in the yolk. But whether it's fertile or not really just depends on whether you see that ring around it. Who is this? Haig Homestead, I think it is. Hopefully I got that right. It says hello. Hello to you too. White says, I think I have the mealworms down as well. So you're raising mealworms as well? Seems like quite a bit of work, but hopefully it's all going well. Emma says, oh, hey, everybody. Hope everyone is well. I'm doing well. Hopefully you are too. Verna says, Joe McCall, a white spot means fertile, and if it's a bullseye, that means it is fertilized. So, yeah, well, kind of. I mean, the white spot doesn't mean it's fertile. Well, I see what you're saying. Yeah, you're right. The white spot technically means it's fertile, like a mature egg. It could be fertilized, but it doesn't mean it is fertilized. You got to look, like she said, you got to look for the dark ring around it, the bullseye. Stacy says, will it stress the mom out if you move them all to a different cage at 4 weeks? Like with the mother with the kits, I need the cage for another mom to kindle. No, they should be fine. That's not really that big of a deal. Rabbits are not that particular about you handling their babies or any of those kinds of things. The mom might get a little bit stressed out by moving her to a new environment because they get pretty territorial. But it's not going to be that big of a deal. She's not going to abandon the kits. It's not going to be, you shouldn't have any problems. Buster says hello to all. Hello to you too, Buster. Andy says there are only 3 more. Wait, there is only 3 more that is in lockdown that hasn't hatched yet. I only had 14 eggs set in the little giant incubator, and you've only got 3 that haven't hatched. That's pretty good. G. Michael wants to know, have you ever raised ducks or geese for meat or eggs? Now, when I was a kid, we had a couple of ducks. They were like pets, though, that we didn't get eggs from them. I think they were probably both male. I don't know. But no, I've never really raised any of those for meat or eggs. Now I don't know much about geese, honestly, but I hear ducks are incredibly messy. Like really, really messy. But I would be willing to try them at some point. I don't know. Verna says, Smoke is my problem doe. She has charged me. LOL. So yeah, I had a rabbit one time that would just charge at you every time you opened the cage. Didn't matter if she had babies or not. She'd tear the glove off your hand. I mean, she was crazy. I didn't keep her very long. Billy Glass says, I just candled 3 eggs. Wow, I got black spot in the eggs. So what you're saying is the eggs had dark spots on them. I don't know what stage they're at right now, but that's probably a good sign. If you're candling them and you have them in the incubator, that means something's developing in there. So that's a good sign. Quail eggs are hard to candle. They're not as easy as like a chicken egg. It's hard to, some of them, like if you're 10 days in or not 8 days into, I usually don't even candle. And if I do, it's right before lockdown. So, but if you're candling at that point, and they just light up like a light bulb, well, they're no good, obviously. But sometimes it's hard to tell. Joshua says, how's your wife? She's doing well. Thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah, everything's good here right now. Verna says Muscovies are not as messy and their meat tastes like steak. I've heard that. I haven't had Muscovy meat, but I've heard that it's very much like a red meat. They're not like any other duck. They're different than all other ducks. They actually will roost in trees. They have a different kind of feet than any other duck. So they're a unique one. And you said they're not as messy. I don't know. That may be true. I don't know. TM says, I think geese are loud, and geese can be really aggressive. Really aggressive. So I don't know if that's a good idea. So Andy Rabbit says, ducks are messy, and geese will clean the grass from a 3-acre yard in no time. I didn't know that they would. Yeah, I can see that actually. But yeah, I've heard that about ducks for sure. Verna says Incubright is a great candling tool. Yeah, I've got a really bright flashlight. It works great, but it is still sometimes difficult to see through the quail eggs. Not always. So Much Joy says, we have ducks, adore them. Yes, messy if in a coop, but if you give them a small yard with a little pond or a kiddie pool, they're actually great. Yeah, if you have enough room for them, I'm sure that they are. Scrap 5000 says, Chris, ducks are indeed messy because they poop so much and they splash water and feed everywhere and lay eggs everywhere and they get dirty. But eggs are heavenly and ducks are so endearing. I have had duck eggs before, and duck eggs are really good. I agree. Especially if you like fried egg sandwiches, a fried duck egg sandwich. Wow. It's something else. It's pretty good. So Much Joy says, yes, Andy, we have geese as well, planning on rotating them so they don't keep tearing up the pasture. Billy Glass says 7 days incubator. So yeah, that is, and Emma says the same thing. That's a good sign that you're seeing dark spots in them. That is, 7 days is a little bit early to be handling, I would think, but hey, seems like you're getting some results. So Much Joy says, yes, some of the gangers are a bit mean, but the females, is that what you call a male duck or male goose? Is a ganger? I thought it was a gander. Gander? Anyway, maybe a typo. Maybe I'm wrong. But the females can be very friendly. Actually, seems like the brown Chinese are friendlier than the white. Huh. Interesting. I didn't know. I mean, my experience with geese is they can all be pretty aggressive. Andy Rabbit says, I let my geese free roam and I had no grass in my front yard after them. So Much Joy says ganders. There we go. Yeah. Ganders, a male duck is called a gander as well. I didn't know. I thought a male duck was a drake. Am I wrong? I don't know. Scrap 5000 says, Chris, if you like duck eggs, you will love chucker eggs. They're even more creamy and delicious than duck, if you can believe it. I can believe it. I haven't tried those before. I'll have to check them out sometime. David Lister says, I only candle our eggs after incubation is complete to check fertility rates. So, yeah, I don't. Emma Ball says gander with a smile. I don't know what that means exactly, but oh well. Yeah, I don't mess with it. I mean, if they don't hatch, they don't hatch. I don't even bother. I just throw them out. Don't worry about it. And keep moving on. Billy Glass says, hope so. Emma, feel like a expecting father again. I don't know. That was to her. I don't know what that is. I don't know what you're talking about, but oh well. Verna says, you're right, Chris. I was wrong. LOL. Yeah, it's okay. Happens to me all the time. I make all kinds of mistakes. So Much Joy says, yes, Drake is a duck. Gander is geese. That makes sense. So now we're into this. Like, what do you call this? What do you call that? So what do you call anyway, it doesn't matter. Emma Ball says, haha, Billy, only with quail. They are addictive and you want more. Oh, they can be for sure. Andy Rabbit says a goose is a gander, a duck is a drake. So yeah, I guess we got that one figured out. Peggy says, I'm just starting my quail adventure. Thanks for all the tips and instructions. I did them once before and am looking forward to having a little knowledge. I put a few eggs under my Banty hen to see. I've heard that Banties can do a pretty good job of incubating quail eggs. Let us know how it goes. I'm kind of curious on that. So Much Joy says, we just bought Muscovy ducklings, so excited to taste the meat. I heard it tastes like steak. I've heard that as well. Haven't tried it, but I heard it's pretty good. I see them every once in a while. We go places, and they are a unique looking duck. They're different than, like I said, any other duck. They're very odd. And the fact that they roost in trees, they almost have like little claws for feet. It's weird. They're kind of partially webbed, but like they're strange. They're different than regular what you're used to seeing for ducks. I don't know how fast they grow out. I've always heard that if you want duck for meat, it's probably Peking, or there's another one. I can't remember, but those are the ones that really, like the Cornish cross of the duck world, basically. Emma Ball says, question, what does everyone do with their eggshells? Mine go in the compost pile usually, sometimes just in the trash or fed to the dog usually. That's about all I do with them. Andy Rabbit wants to know, how loud are the chuckers? The next house is within 20 feet of me. I don't want to make them mad. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have any idea, honestly. Don't know anything about them. We'll see. We'll see if Scrap 5000 can respond to that, because I don't know. Verna says, Emma, you can dry them out, grind them up, and feed them back to your birds, or powder them to put them in your garden. You can. And Andy Rabbit says, my eggshells go in the compost or garden for grow pots. Yeah. Honestly, I mean, adding eggshells to your compost is it's not a bad idea. Adding it to your garden, you always hear that about, like, if your tomatoes have blossom end rot, crush up eggshells and add them on there. It doesn't really do it does eventually break down, but it takes a long time for an eggshell to break down. So it's not like a good quick fix for a blossom end rot. Not only that, but blossom end rot usually is not because of a lack of calcium in your soil. It is, a lack of calcium does cause blossom end rot, but it's not because it's not in the soil. It's just not that the plants aren't able to take it up. It's usually inconsistent watering and some of those kinds of things that cause that. So you usually don't need to worry about adding extra calcium to your soil. And really, if you do, eggshells are not going to be a way to do it real quick. But it's still not a bad idea to go ahead and throw them in your garden. Just don't expect it to be like an immediate quick fix. Over time, it's going to help for sure. So Much Joy says, rinse and dry the eggshells, crush and add to the soil around your plants. You can do that. Kind of discussed that already, but I don't even bother rinsing them. I just throw them in the compost pile. Verna says, that's why I say powder them and put them in your garden, breaks down quickly. Yeah, they're still not going to actually break down all that quick, even powdered. I mean, maybe a little quicker for sure, but not that quick. But, you know, it's not bad practice. It's just don't expect it to be a quick fix. Scrap 5000 says that the chuckers can be loud, especially the females. When the males are breeding them, they let out a sharp whistle scream because the males mate aggressively. They also cluck a lot. Andy Rabbit says, I use Epsom salt for blossom end rot. Yeah, and that's not a bad idea. Epsom salt can be used for that as well. But again, a lot of the time, blossom end rot's just because of inconsistent watering or, you know, something other than just, it's not really a lack of calcium in your soil. If you do, though, Epsom salt's a way better choice. It will dissolve a lot quicker and be more readily accessible. So Much Joy says roses love coffee grounds. Well, I don't grow roses, but I imagine they would. I mean, don't they like acidic soil? And coffee grounds are pretty high in acids, so that would kind of make sense, I think. Andy Rabbit says too loud for me then. Yeah, probably sounds like it. Scrap 5000 has some continued on that. He says, but I think the male quail crowing are much louder than chuckar. And I don't even know if I pronounce that right. Is it chuckar? I don't know how exactly. But anyway, and they crow much more often. So I think chuckar are actually quieter overall. Okay, well, that seems to contradict what we were just talking. But I don't know. Joshua Barris says, we just had New Zealand kits. I feel like it late in the season for it, and I'm worried about them overheating in the nest box. Live in North Carolina. Any advice? Yeah, I wouldn't worry about it too much. Do you have an open nest box? If you have like open wire nest box like I use, or even just as long as it's open, it's not covered on the top, they should be okay. They should regulate their heat okay, and it shouldn't be that big of a deal. Jeff Fanning says, sorry I'm late. I've been busy. Hey, it's all good. You know the deal. We don't keep attendance here. We're not going to call you out for being late. We're just glad you're here. TM says, I like to put a little copper around my tomatoes. I don't know if it helps, but I do it. I've always heard copper will deter slugs. Of course, I've never really had a big problem with slugs on tomatoes. They eat a lot of other things that I put out, but I've never had a big problem with them on tomatoes. I don't really do anything like that. Honestly, I just plant the tomatoes and, lots of compost. Make sure you plant them deep and water them. Deep watering. Tomatoes like deep watering. So you don't just spray a hose on them every once in a while and walk away. If you're not getting the water down in the soil, that they're going to have a hard time with it. Scrap 5000. So if you're okay with the male quail, you should be okay with chuckar. Most states require a game permit for chuckar, by the way. Yeah, because they're probably a native bird, right? G. Michael says, question, how's your garden going? Are you growing anything new to you? Well, the garden's not really started yet. It's still a little early here. We got another, about Mother's Day is usually when I plant out. I mean, it was 40 degrees out, last night. So it's still a little chilly out. I got tomatoes started. I got peppers started. I don't know if we're going to grow anything new this year. We did tomatillos last year, and they produced really well. But, I made some salsa verde with them. It was pretty good, but it wasn't great. It wasn't one of those things I necessarily think I'm going to grow every year. So I always have the standards, the tomatoes, peppers, cucumbers, green beans, what else? Okra. I think we're going to try summer squash and zucchini again. We had such a bad problem with squash bugs that we laid off the squash for a couple of years. And we're going to try it again this year probably and see if we can get away with it. But they were just horrendous. I mean, we could not keep on top of them. They built up, and I didn't have problems with them for the longest time. And then all of a sudden, boom, started having problems, and they just got worse and worse and worse. And so we laid off squash for a couple of years. We'll see how it goes. Joshua says, thanks, man. Well, you're absolutely welcome. David Lister says, we have our chucker in the same shed as our quail, and I'm not deaf yet. TM says, move your tomatoes around in your garden every year. Yeah, I don't move them every year, but that's not bad advice either to move them around. Tomatoes are pretty heavy feeders, so it's not a bad idea. I like to follow them up with my green beans, because green beans will add nitrogen to the soil. Tomatoes need a lot more than just nitrogen, but that's one of the things that, tends to get depleted. So your green beans will add nitrogen to the soil. They're a nitrogen fixer, whereas most other plants take nitrogen from the soil. There's other things that they need too, phosphorus, magnesium, and calcium, and all those kinds of things. But usually by throwing some compost in there, that stuff will get replenished. Emma says, I grew cucamelons, Mexican sour gherkins last year for the first time, and I love them. So prolific. Definitely again this year. My newbies this year are new berry bushes and sweet peas. Yeah, I've got sweet peas going, but I grow those pretty regularly. I'm growing them in the green stock garden, so I'm going to see how they do, and I'll do a video on that, so that, the green stock vertical planter. So if you guys don't know, and if you're looking for one of those, they're fantastic. I love it. Great way to grow carrots. My carrots do fantastic in them. I do have discount codes in my video description, so you can check that out and get a discount on them. G. Michael says, questions, and not this video description, but any other besides the live, all those video descriptions have the discount in them. Somebody said, that reminds me, somebody mentioned that my Amazon link in those was not working. I'll have to double check that. Sorry, I'm going to take a minute to do that real quick because I just thought about it and I forgot to check it earlier. Let's see what we got here. All right. Oh, it does say page not found. I'm going to have to update that. Why is that not working? Oh, it looks like it should be slightly red-necked, and it got cut off for some reason. I don't know why. Weird. I don't know how that happened. I'll go back and fix that later. G. Michael says, question, do you have any fruit trees in your back lot? Yeah, I do. I have a peach tree. It's a mature peach tree. It produces pretty much every year. We've got 2 plum trees. They're just getting big enough to where they may start producing. We've got a pawpaw tree. We generally get production off of it every year, but I have yet to eat a piece of fruit out of my backyard because of the stupid squirrels. They eat everything that comes off those trees. We just can't get it in time. They just eat it all right before it becomes ripe. Anyway, working on solutions for that, but I just have not come up with one. I can't eradicate them fast enough. I can't keep up with it. It's like I have a trap. I've trapped them, and I'll trap 5 or 6 squirrels, and like 2 days later, 5 or 6 more are there. I just can't keep up with them. Dawn says, I finally made it. Hello, or hey, everyone from South Central Illinois. Good to see you, Dawn. Thanks for joining us tonight. Let's see. S.O. Swanson, I followed. Greetings from Mississippi Delta. Good to see you too. John F. says, good evening. Good evening to you. Chris says, the link to the Amazon isn't complete. It got cut off. Yeah, I guess it did. I don't know how that happened. I'll have to go back and try to fix that. I'll make sure it gets corrected on my next videos for sure. But yeah, it got cut off. The last part, it just says slightly R and then ... It should be rednecked, of course, slightly rednecked at the end of that. I don't know why it's not working. And Chris says, I try to use the link for support. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I do make a little bit of a commission on those. If you use that link and go to Amazon, whether you buy anything off my list or not, if you use that link and go to Amazon and then go buy something, I do get a little bit of a commission off that. Not a ton, but it's a little bit. So I appreciate that. And I don't know, I think it maybe like it's a 24-hour thing. So if you click that link, go to Amazon, and then go back to Amazon within 24 hours, like from the same browser or whatever, I think that I would still get a little commission off that. It doesn't cost you anything more. Same price for you, but I get a little bit of kickback. Let's see. John says hello to Vay. It says squirrel meat. I don't. Okay, what does that mean? Something exactly? Squirrel meat? Oh, to deal with my squirrel problems. Yeah, I like squirrel. I do, but I'm not. I don't know about eating city squirrel for some reason. It just is weird to me. It's probably just a personal thing. I probably should just get over it and do it. But at the same time, like I said, I can't keep up with them. I cannot eradicate them fast enough. As soon as I clear out like five or six more move in. It's just they're just everywhere. There's too many of them. There's no predators here to keep them in check. And Don says I use the links for support when I'm shopping. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I get a little bit of payment from Amazon, not a lot, $20, $30 a month sometimes on a busy month. But hey, every little bit helps, right? And Chris says, and it doesn't cost us anything. Yeah, it doesn't cost you anything at all. Andy Rabbit says, my dad said to ask how much of a percentage it is. It varies, honestly. I couldn't tell you the exacts. I mean, there's a schedule there. It's like, I think electronics are a higher percentage. I can't remember what they are, how they're broke out exactly, and what it is. It's a very small percentage, so it's not much. Like I said, on a busy month, I might get $20 or $30 in payments from Amazon. And that's where lots of people have used the link and bought lots of things. So it's not a huge percentage. G. Michael says you need farm cats in your orchard to help you with the squirrel population. There's plenty of wild cats running around here, like just city cats. I live in town. I can't just let cats go in my backyard, but there's plenty of them that are running around, and they're not doing a good job. They can't keep them in check either. Jennifer says, good evening, Chris. Squirrels keep getting into my green stock. Any advice? I just got here. Oh, no. That's what we're talking about. I can't keep the squirrels out of things. They keep getting into your green stock. Well, I have a dog in the backyard, so they don't really get in the backyard up on the back deck occasionally, but not very often. We've been pulling walnut trees out. Like they're growing in all our flower beds, my wife's flower beds up front. Walnut trees that squirrels have planted. And I don't even know where the closest walnut tree is. I don't know where these walnuts came from, but they planted these walnut trees for us. So we've been pulling them out. But anyway, back to keeping squirrels out of your green stock, huh? I'm trying to think of a good way. Maybe sprinkle some cayenne pepper. I mean, you could sprinkle a lot of cayenne pepper over that. It's not going to hurt your plants at all. It will deter the squirrels. You're going to have to do that after it rains or after you water from the top. You're going to have to reapply it, but that's a good way. If you can get them deterred for a little bit, that'll probably keep them away for good. There's pepper spray. You can make a pepper spray and just spray down everything probably. That would work. But other than that, I made a squirrel trap. I've been trapping them. And I did a video on it. You can go back on my channel and find a squirrel trap video and see how I made it if you want to try to trap them. But then you got another problem. What do you do with them after you trap them? I mean, I've got an air rifle, so I know what I do with them, but you may not want to go that way. Other things, maybe mothballs might do it. Mothballs laid on top might keep them out. Verna says, Chris, when you become the predator for the squirrels, they will not come in your yard. Yeah, well, they still come in my yard. They do. They know just about how far I can reach with my air rifle, and that's as much as I can shoot in town. I can't. If I could shoot my 22 in town, I'd take them all out. No problems. But they tend to stay just out of reach, just out of range. That they know exactly where that range is somehow or another. S.O. Swanson says, Max would love the garden cats. Yeah, I wouldn't have cats if Max could get to them. He would kill the cats. He's not friendly with cats. Best Gamer says, hey, Chris, I haven't caught you live in 3 or 4 years. I hope all is good down in Missouri. Your buddy from West Virginia. Well, thanks for joining us tonight. All is good. Thank you. We got some storms coming through this weekend, but we're going to be okay. I'm not too worried about that. Hopefully all is good with you too. Thanks for joining us again. John says, I agree with Verna that if you become the predator, they won't come in your yard. Well, they do. They still come in the yard. David says, and as the sun sinks slowly into the west, I depart to take care of critters. All right. Well, you have a good evening. Thank you for joining us. Andy Rabbit says, Dad says, thanks for the answer. Well, you are welcome. Forgot. Outside in Georgia just had a message retracted. I don't know what that was about. Don S says, I had squirrels getting into every planter to easily plant their nuts they find. I had to put hardware baskets in with the pointy tips up in every planter until plants got big. That's not a bad idea. Andy Rabbit says, okay, I'm laughing on the squirrels planting trees for you. Yeah, they're planting walnut trees everywhere. And like I said, I don't even know where a walnut tree is anywhere around. I haven't seen one. I don't know where these walnuts are coming from, but they're planting them. So my wife has been pulling them up, putting them in pots. We're going to grow them out just a little bit, see if we can sell them on Facebook, see if people will buy these walnut trees. I mean, they're already sprouted that tall, they just pull right out because they're in the green stock or in the garden beds. We just pull them right out of the ground, stick them in a pot. They're growing. G. Michael says, maybe just some type of netting for your green stalks. Yeah, you might be able to do that. Actually, I've heard, and I tried this last year on my fruit trees. It did not work, but get what do you call that? The white, like lacy netting stuff. Is it? It starts with a T. What's the name for that? Tooling, like you would put on a dress, tooling. Hopefully I'm getting the words right. Anyway, you take that and you're supposed to be able to wrap that around like your peaches or your whatever. We wrapped it around the pawpaws because we don't get very many of those and we're trying to keep the squirrels off of them. They found a way around it. But my thought is they get their nails caught in it and they don't like that. So you might be able to drape some of that around it, over your pots or whatever. If you can kind of secure it a little bit so the wind doesn't blow it away, but leave it at the same time kind of loose so your plants can push up on it a little bit as they start to grow. And as your plants get bigger, you could take it off. But that might do it too. Emma says, leave one of those walnuts to grow and they'll leave your peaches alone eventually. Not likely, actually. My neighbor has a pecan tree, which I think is what draws all the squirrels in, but yeah, there's just too many of them. I tried to feed squirrels one time. I had squirrels getting in and getting my tomatoes. So I tried to feed them, put out, corn stalk for them. And I came home and it was like, there were just squirrels all over this tree with this corn thing on. There were like 10 or 11 squirrels on this tree with this stalk of corn on it. They'd already cleaned it up. There's just too many of them. They can't, they're going to eat everything they can get their hands on. So Much Joy says, we have netting on our trees for the birds, orchard orioles, so they don't eat the fruit. Guess it keeps the squirrels away too. Nice. If you live out in the country or whatever, there's squirrel out there too, but it's not the same. They're overcrowded in the city. It's different. Don says, late, but I'm here. Hello from South Mississippi. Hello to you too. Andy Rabbit says, good idea, Chris, with the tooling. Is that it? Hopefully. Anyway, I don't know. Whatever, it was a good idea. I'm glad you liked it. Outside in Georgia says, it was about a squirrel trap. I said carbine trap, but those don't exist. I can't remember the name. Yeah, you're talking about I know what you're talking about. You're talking about like the snap trap thing. What is that called? I know which one you're talking about. Let's see. Let me see if I can find it real quick. No, I can't find it either. There's the body traps. What are those called? There's spring trap for tracking squirrels and mouse, all kinds of stuff like that. But I see them, the Duke, number 110 small trap, but there's another name for them. I can't remember what it is. Anyway, Emma Ball says, sell walnut start. Smiling. Yeah, I don't know if anybody will buy it. Yeah. Don says, tool, Tulle. That's it. Yeah. Chris says, trellis netting. There you go. That might be it. Emma says, squirrel nurseries, huh? Jennifer says, Greenstock used to sell covers. Might check them out. That's a thought. I didn't know they had covers for that. You could theoretically put And this wouldn't be a bad idea, honestly, now that I think about it. Like a piece of, like take a black trash bag or something like that, and basically you cover the hole where the, over the top of that green stock thing, cover it, tape it on there so it doesn't blow away, poke a hole through it, and that's where you plant your seeds. Just cut a little crisscross in it. That would where you plant your seeds. That helps hold the moisture in. It would keep it from drying out, which I don't have huge problems with, but it would be kind of serve double duty. Keeps it from drying out, helps get your seeds started. Your plants will grow right up through those holes in the plastic, and it would keep the squirrels from digging in it. So there you go. Conibear, that's what it's called. Gunkling and Palin Goddess. The Conibear is right. Yep, I agree. Thank you. I always forget the names for those. Rockfish says hello from Texas. Hello to you too. Don says, so y'all see Chris' picture is frozen. Did we lock up? Jacob Wolf says, Chris, I'd really like to get a high five or a fist bump from you at Quail Con this year. Well, hey, I mean, yeah, just come and look me up. Find me. We'll shake hands, high five, fist bump, whatever you want to do. Well, maybe not whatever. It might get weird. But for the most part, whatever you want to do, we'll fist bump, we'll shake hands, whatever. I'll be glad to see you. I won't know who you are. I won't be able to pick you out of the lineup, so you'll have to come and find me. But I'm very approachable. I'm a nice guy. I like talking to people. TM says, okay, Andy Rabbit says, not frozen for me. It looks like things are going. There's S.O. Swanson with Ray Stevens and the Mississippi Squirrel Revival. I remember that song. Came out when I was a young kid. We thought it was the funniest thing ever. TM says, I heard about a squirrel in a church down in, oh, there it is, Pascagoula, Mississippi. I missed that one. Yeah, I know exactly what that is, too. That's a reference to the song. I was just saying. That's funny. Verna says, I used to cover my seedlings or garden starts in a Dixie cup that I broke the bottom out so the squirrels would not eat my pepper plants. Squirrels were eating your pepper plants? Aren't they a nightshade? And that seems like they would die from eating your pepper plants, but who knows? Outside in Georgia says, I have armadillo digging holes in my garden at night. They sometimes dig up entire seedlings, probably armadillos. If you have armadillos around, armadillos will dig tons of little holes about that big around. They're looking for grubs is what they're looking for. They're not actually going after your plants, but they can do damage. We got an armadillo in the back that, I mean, it's digging holes all over the place. And really underneath the quail, underneath the rabbit hutch, I mean, digging it all up, just like tilled it all up for me, which kind of sucked because I wanted the rabbit manure, not the tilled up dirt, for the garden. Dawn says, I refreshed and your body is moving now. LOL, your voice was fine. Oh, that's weird. Emma says, that was funny, Chris. I'm not sure what was funny, but I'm glad you got a chuckle out of it, whatever it was. Andy Rabbit says, got to have a shirt made with your YouTube name so people know who you are. I had one made last year. Oh, there you go. Well, I mean, yeah, but I can't remember. I won't remember everybody's YouTube names. I mean, you guys will, some of them I'll know, but like, Jacob Wolf, like, I mean, if you had a name, like Jacob, I'm not going to know. You're going to have to come and find me. But I'm, like I said, I'm approachable. Come and find me. I'll be happy to talk to you and shake hands and hang out for a minute or a while. Who knows? Verna says, when they are seedlings, it was squirrels up in Northwest Ohio. Interesting. I didn't know that. S.O. Swanson says, we all know who Chris is. Yeah, I think she was saying, have a shirt made so I know who you are, but I won't remember all the names. I'll have a hard time doing that. Jacob says, LOL, whatever I want. I challenge you to a game of rock, paper, scissors then. Okay, well, rock, paper, scissors, I can do that. That's okay. As long as you don't want me to dance or sing or, there's a lot of other things on there, but those are two of the ones that come up. Dawn says, squirrels eat my peppers and cucumber seedlings right off. Squirrels, really? Now, rabbits will nibble on my cucumbers. They won't go after my peppers or tomatoes. I always thought peppers were a nightshade. I may be getting that wrong, but nightshades plants are toxic, so I wouldn't think they would eat them, but I may be wrong. TM says, the birds get a lot of seeds out of my garden. Sorry, I got distracted by another comment. Yeah, that's unfortunate. I don't have any problems with birds taking my seeds. Um, I do have, like, the squirrels will come and take my tomatoes sometimes, but once I clean out it's like once they figure out the tomatoes are edible, they pass it on to their friends and they'll have a problem with it. But once I clean out all those squirrels, I don't have a problem with it for like several years. It takes them a while to figure it out again. But I don't have problems with birds. Andy Rabbit says, Steve, Chris is right. I don't know what I was right. Oh, about you making the shirt so I'll know who you are. Yeah, okay, gotcha. Don S says, rabbits can't get in my garden. I do think sometimes birds will nip the seedlings right off too. Are you sure rabbits can't get into your garden? I mean, are you positive? What are you doing to make sure they're not able to? Because I haven't found a real good way to keep them out. I mean, they get in there. Sometimes they'll get in there. Like I thought I had it secured. They'll get in there. They'll have a nest, and then like the babies come out of nowhere. All of a sudden, there's baby rabbits in my garden. They can't find their way out, but they get in somehow. So much joy says, "Yep, TM. The cardinals eat our corn or pea seeds if we aren't careful." Interesting. Andy Rabbit says, my rabbits will eat my tomato plants when they get out. Interesting. Verna says, when they are seedlings under 6 inches tall, the squirrels will eat them before they become toxic. Interesting. So is that really, I mean, I guess that may be the case, that they don't get toxic until they get bigger. I didn't know that. Jacob says, I'll get a shirt that says Jacob on it and a picture of a wolf, and then everyone can piece it together and know who I am. Or they'll think you're, what's his name? Dwight from The Office, the big wolf on it being manly. You may not have seen that one. You may not know what I'm talking about. But Emma Ball says, you shouldn't need a shirt with your name on it if you can say hello. Bit weird, LOL. It is kind of weird, isn't it? Especially all the people that aren't at Quail Con, where you go anywhere else, you got a picture of your name on your shirt and all that. Yeah, it'd be a little weird, wouldn't it? TM says, they do have name tags there, by the way. So you just put a name tag on your shirt. It'll be okay. TM says, I guess we need a good scarecrow. Yeah, they do make like motion detected sprinklers. So you can hook them up, and they're specifically for that purpose. A squirrel runs by, it sets it off, and it shoots out water and freaks them out and scares them away, especially if it's like July and that hose has been laying out in the hot sun all day. Imagine it just pretty much cooked that squirrel with that hot water coming out of there. They wouldn't come out there very often, but that's a thought. Might work. Don says, no, I have my garden rabbit proof, not squirrel proof, because they climb the wood trees and jump in our wood supports and jump in. Yeah, you couldn't keep squirrels out. There's no way. But yeah, I didn't know. I mean, I'm not sure how you keep the rabbits out. That was something to figure out. Hang on a second. I'm checking these, make sure. Oh boy, I got a whole bunch of emails all of a sudden. But nothing super. Oh, we got a comment on a video, but it wasn't this one. So I want to make sure somebody knew to use the chat and not the comments, but it wasn't this video. Andy Rabbit says, let's see, I had my shirt made to let people know what my YouTube channel name is when I wear it anywhere else. Well, that's not a bad idea. Emma Ball says, I'm creasing up over here. Imagines. Oh, I think there's some typos there. I'm not sure what you're trying to say exactly. I'm kind of lost. Well, we are good to wrap this one up. I mean, it's right at almost 8 o'clock. We're good. You said 2-minute warning. No, it's less than that. It's 7:59 by mine. So if I start wrapping up now, because I'm from Missouri, you can't say goodbye in like a minute. Laughing. Oh, cracking up is probably what it meant. I'm laughing hard is what I meant. Okay, good. I'm glad that we could entertain you for a little while. Yeah, the hours do go by quickly. I agree. And then, there's Jan Steffi says, hello, Chris and everyone, from Joe and Jan Steffi. Good to see you. One more. Dawn says, Chris, put up chicken wire that is tall enough. They can't jump over it, and they won't go through chicken wire. But the base has to be fastened down good. Land staking timbers around the base. Yeah, they just dig under it on mine. But anyway, it doesn't matter. I don't have a huge problems with them. They're just there. So anyway, okay, got to wrap this one up. Go spend some time with my wife before I got to get up and go to work tomorrow. thank you guys for joining me. I don't see any reason why I won't be here again next Thursday. So we'll plan on being here next Thursday evening, try to get a video out for you guys this weekend. And we'll see you guys then. So thanks for joining. And as always, God bless.